Welcome to our Open Notes podcast. Our study group includes me, Angela Thompson, Nora Mortimer. Hey, Nora.
Hi.
And Kiana Gerhart. Hello, Kiana.
Hello.
Our guest today is our very own Nora Mortimer, whose work as the content manager at UITAC should make for some fascinating notes. Today is January 10th, 2025. Let's get ready to take some notes.
I'm excited.
Okay, well then, our first question, and thank you, Kiana, for curating our questions today. So, Nora, can you tell us a little about where you're from and what first inspired you to pursue a position in higher education/publishing?
So I am from Texas, originally from Chicago. A lot of people like to say that the accent has kind of stuck, but I'm in like the Fort Worth area, and I like the idea of higher education. I plan to pursue a PhD, and you kind of have to like it if you're gonna commit to that level of education. So I originally joined as an intern at UITAC for content experience. I had just switched from a biochemistry major to a sociology major and wanted to prove to my parents that there was work out there in the social sciences. And I loved making content for education and publishing, like education materials. And I've stuck around since. I think this is going on my third year at the company. I've gotten a lot of background experience from the instructor's position. And since the end goal is to be an instructor at a university, I think it's very helpful that I've seen what goes all into. A lot of people think, oh, you just teach the material and, sometimes it comes off your brain or sometimes it's just the textbook that you read. And you're like, no, okay, now that I've worked in this position in the industry, I've realized a lot more goes into it and it's not as simple as people think.
No, there's definitely a lot more to teaching, and being comfortable with the material may make it look easy, but there's a lot of work behind it to make it look easy. So Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm always, I would say, impressed or in awe of people who want to become like an educator, instructor, professor, because this is such a long thing that you're preparing for. Having that passion and drive for such a long time is so amazing because I don't really have a dream. Like I just want to do things, but I don't have this long term, I want to be this. And I have this plan that has to happen here, here, and here.
I don't know if it's a funny story. I wanted to be an architect originally. I took years of drafting in high school and I was set on being an architect. And then two things. One, I really don't like math. So that was going to be an issue. And two, I was just thinking the amount of education required to be an architect, that's years of additional training. And I didn't want to do that. Of course, halfway through my PhD program, I realized, it's still the same amount of time. It's just a question of whether you like what you're doing over that span of time and it doesn't seem like a big deal, versus if I had to do 8 years of math, I was, gonna pull my eyes out. That wasn't gonna work. So yeah, there's something to having that passion for something that really helps you move forward and put the time into it and makes a long time not seem like a long time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I had the same thing. Since I was 7, I wanted to be a medical examiner.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, there's these steps. You have to go to med school. You have to do an internship. You have to get the specialization training. And then biochemistry was like one of the weeder classes for the major. And I was weeded out and I weeded myself out. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do math and chemistry at this level for the rest of my life. I don't like that. And so I'd been taking sociology classes as electives the whole time. And I was already on track to graduate with a sociology major anyway. And my advisor was like, You might as well just switch to that. Like, don't do psychology like you said you wanted to do. Just do soc. And so it was kind of an easy switch because I was passionate about both.
Mhm.
But sociology does have less math.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's good.
Mhm.
That's amazing. And well, since it seems like you have a very diverse range of interests, what's one hobby of yours that people might not guess just by looking at your resume?
Oh, by my resume, they probably wouldn't catch the crochet. I have been crocheting and knitting since I was like 10. At our church, there was a crochet club on Wednesdays, and my mom had a different meeting at the church. And so she dropped me off with all of the grandmas. And they were like, well, if you're going to be here, you're going to learn. So I've been crocheting ever since. My biggest project was a queen sized blanket during COVID. I like sat down and went through 12 skeins of yarn, which are like the bundles, they're called skeins, and just kind of worked through that while watching K dramas and Tiger King, all of those things that came out during the pandemic. So that kept me busy. But yeah, I think it's probably one of my favorite hobbies because I have to sit down and actively like make time for it. So it's a really good self-care, like, let's calm down and crochet. And then you realize you messed up on counting and it's not so calming anymore.
I completely envy you. I love crocheting and knitting. I can't right now.
Mhm,
And so I don't have a good stress reliever. And
mhm.
that was a really good stress reliever. Was your quilt, your queen size blanket, pieces, or was it one solid
It was
piece?
one solid.
Wow.
And so we had 2 floors at our house at the time, and I think one day I put it over the staircase and just let it fall, and my
Wow.
mom was like, "Oh, okay, I see why you spend so much time in your room," because I didn't wanna lug it back up and forth the
Exactly.
the stairs. So I was like, "Yeah, okay, thank you for understanding, I'm busy." Mhm.
Do
Yeah.
you make things for other people? Because I used to, but I stopped
Mhm.
because of the sheer amount of money I was spending. But do you make
Mhm.
things for other people?
I do. I've made a few like tank tops, shirts, and sweaters for people. And then stuffed animals. Right now, my year-long goal is to make snowflakes that will go on my mom's Christmas tree. She has a set from her grandmother, and they're starting to get, a little old, a little brown. And so I was like, well, I could replace them. And she was like, "Oh my god, that would mean the world to me because then I could preserve those, but also have something that's still meaningful from a family member." So I'm doing like one snowflake a week, but
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
those are very intricate and time consuming.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's
Mhm.
very cool. One year I tried to do the what is the temperature blanket? Where you do
Mhm.
a different color based on the temperature of the day. And I
Mhm.
think I got through March and the school year was just getting too intense and I kept getting behind and frustrated with the temperatures and I was like, no, I can't.
Mhm.
I had to let it go, but
Yeah.
very cool.
Mhm.
I'm in awe. I think I tried once to crochet and I just got like the line. And
Mhm.
then when they introduced, okay, so this is how you make another line, I was like, nah, I'm done. Wow. But daily, weekly, gosh, that's amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll have to make some UTAC mug cozies and send them all to you guys.
Yes.
Maybe, as a little like thank you.
Just
Mhm.
as an odd side note, one thing I did notice when I was crocheting or knitting, if I did it out in public, so I had a small carry along project, the number of people who would just stare, or come over and ask a question. I mean, I don't think of that as a dying art, but for a lot of people, they just don't have a concept that, yeah, you can actually do something with a string of yarn.
Mhm.
You can make something.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a lot of people I listen to audiobooks and crochet on an airplane. And I think a lot of people do a double take because I am young and it's considered like a granny hobby, I think. But I love things like latch hooking, cross stitching, knitting and
Mhm.
crocheting. So like, when my dad is like, "Oh, what are your plans for Friday night?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna read a really good book and crochet." And he's like, "Are you 70?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, I am."
There you go. There you go. My
Mhm.
goal is Tunisian crochet. I keep telling myself I want to learn
Ooh.
Tunisian crochet.
Mhm.
It'll happen one day. So maybe that'll be my physical therapy goal. What do you want to be able to do with your
Woo!
hand? I want to be able to knit and crochet, honestly.
Yes. Yeah, get back to that.
So
Mhm.
tell us about your Zoom background. What's the story behind it? What does it say about you? Why did you choose it?
So this is the most similar to what my actual background looks like. I have a window with all of my plants. In addition to crocheting, I do have at least 20 plants in my one room. And so the sunlight coming in, the nice, just neutral background, some of the that didn't work. The paintings, I have a lot of art around my apartment too that I enjoy. So I was like, okay, this looks nice. And we have gotten snow in Texas. And so having the sunlight makes me feel better, even just in my background, because it doesn't look like it's cold. It looks very warm and comfy. And we need that right now in Denton, Texas.
How about you, Kiana?
Today, because we're interviewing Nora, I thought, what would be a nice host background? And because um, I don't know, last time I felt like it was too bright, so I wanted to do a more subtle color, which is this nice blue gray. And then I don't have plants because it's winter and my cats would eat them. So I thought, maybe play homage to the thing that I cannot have. And my name right here in that's backwards, but you get the point. And yeah, that's mine.
Oh, well, I've been busy with winter session teaching and doing a lot of caregiving with my husband because he had his knees replaced. One knee, not both. He had the other one 10 years ago. And also kind of caregiving for my parents from a distance. They've been having health issues. So I've been feeling like I really need a superhero in my life. And so this appealed to me is like, okay, yeah, that's what I need right now. I need Wonder Woman to show up because I really don't feel like being Wonder Woman anymore. So there you go. That's mine.
Very nice and very dynamic. I love it.
Thank you.
And Nora, I know you said that you were originally this math-based degree and now you switched to sociology. Why suddenly was this switch? And can you share a little bit why you study sociology specifically, how it relates to your current role, and just why you like it?
Of course. So this specifically why I made a switch. It was in the pandemic and I only had one friend at my like dorm because we were told to stay isolated even though we came back. And so her and I went to the library one day and I was doing like angles of bonds, which like the way that they turn and twist a molecule makes it a different thing or how it reacts in your body. And so in biochem, we had a project about this like cis and trans um, cross molecule and I just couldn't get the software to work, and I started just crying because of the stress and the overload of the major. It's a very time-consuming, stressful major, and so it's the first semester of my junior year. I was like, okay, I need other options. And I was in a mental health and illness sociology kind of course. And I was like, oh, okay, we just talked about burnout. I think that's what this is. And so seeing that like immediate switch from from biochem to sociology, I wasn't burned out. I liked what I was doing. I was learning new information and not just stacking on top of, in chemistry, you're like, okay, and you learn this, and then the next course you learn this, and then you learn this. So it builds upon each other. Sociology does build upon, but it also expands. So I liked learning about the people and the groups that sociology was covering and the application of it. My biggest interest within sociology is criminology and still medicine. I haven't left that completely behind. So, learning that there was a whole subsection for medical sociology and criminology was kind of like, oh, I can have my cake and eat it too, without the rigorous kind of hard science stereotype. So, that really pulled me in. I love criminology. I've taken multiple deviance courses. I write a lot about deviance or the healthcare industry. I think I have like 3 blogs about those kind of topics. And so that is where I found my place in sociology. But I still love hearing about environmental sociology, political sociology. We've had a lot of students because I also teach and tutor at a university. And so a lot of students come in with intro sociology and they don't find why it relates to them. And once we get to a certain chapter in their textbook, it kind of clicks. I was like, I had that same feeling, but it's nice to see another student have that moment. And so seeing sociology impact people's lives makes it worth it. Mhm.
I think that's what's so fascinating for me about sociology. I mean, I came to it in a similar way. I knew I didn't necessarily want to be an architect, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I always watched programs on other cultures,
Mhm.
and it's like, let me sit down and watch this PBS program on some other culture. And I took an intro class and really enjoyed it. And then it was kind of like, oh, okay, I like this. And I think that's what's the thing that is really good about sociology as a subject matter. I tell my students, you can study anything. Quite literally, you can study anything with sociology. And sometimes they're like, well, no, because they're used to the rigid nature of other disciplines. And I'm like, no, you can whatever to. You can
Mhm.
study it if it involves people, and even if it involves
Mhm.
technology and people often are going hand in hand. So
Mhm.
yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying about getting into the discipline, but also the fact that you can introduce students to it, and it is a light bulb moment when they
Mhm.
realize they are living sociology and didn't even know it. So.
Yeah. And I love the different perspectives. There's 3 main perspectives. I don't know why, but I have beef with conflict theory. So, anything that is, like, under a conflict theory, I skim through it. I'm always like, "Ah, okay." But structural functionalism and symbolic interactionism, I'm like, "No, I get that, and I would defend it with my whole entire life." But if you mention Marx in a paper, I'm like, "I know I'm not gonna like this read."
What is it about? I mean, I always tell my students conflict theorists are never happy.
Mhm.
They are
Mhm.
unhappy about something, haves versus have-nots, wealthy versus poor. You kind of get the gist
Mhm.
of it. And I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about it, but I think I do the same thing. I kind of,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think one of my, like, deviance and control classes, he was from the conflict perspective, and I was like, "Yeah, but could you talk about, symbolic interactionism and how we make up definitions of what is deviant and what is not?" And he was like, "Alright, well, that should be your final paper. It should be different perspectives on deviance." And then I did, and he was like, "You make good points, but I'm gonna still teach it from a conflict theory perspective." Yes, so I like that you can look at things through different lenses as well. It's not just like the one scope that you said.
So how did you get to UTAC, and how did you get from intern to manager?
Yes. So I was looking around for internships just to kind of get my foot in the door of sociology and figure out what I could do because my parents were like, you wouldn't make a good therapist. And a lot of people think, oh, okay, sociology, they go on to therapy or social work. And those are kind of your only two split down the road options. And it's not. I think we're doing a career discovery for sociology degrees, and it's even more than I thought. And I thought I was very open minded of what you could do with this kind of degree. So I was looking for that and making sure that it was a right fit for me for the change. And so my mom's coworker was friends with Amber, who is our co-owner and director of operations, and she was like, "Oh, this is the LinkedIn, message her, see if it's a good fit, respond with a resume." And then Amber called me while I was house sitting for someone and was like, "Would you like to do an interview over the phone right now?" And I started my internship over the summer reformatting, checking the information for all of our sociological U textbook supplementary materials, like the assignments, the videos that they watch, articles that they can read for more information, as well as changing all of the colors. We went through kind of a rebrand from green to blue to pink to blue. And so I think if you ask me the hex code values, I might be able to pull it out of the back of my mind, but that was like a huge summer project that we were working on. And I think I was the only intern from content that stayed. And so I was offered a paid position to start the revisions for our SY textbook. And so I read through each thing, found if there was any statistics, a new updated version. We do that about like every 5 years to make sure that we are providing accurate information. And then after that, Angela was like, "Hey, do you have any ideas, projects, things like that?" And I was like, "Well, we could always make, fillable PDFs or Instagram so that we connect with students as well as instructors." And we really settled on engagement packages. And so Angela and Amber were like, "Oh, we need somebody to manage that too." And so then I was given the manager position for content. That way there was a little more in between our CEO, our co-owners, and the interns that we have and other employees. So I'm currently the manager and working with other like guest bloggers, contributors for future engagement packages, and anything that the interns do, which is kind of like the upkeep of our packages and our textbook. Mhm.
Wow.
There, I will say, you used the word you were given the position of manager. No, you were not given. You absolutely earned it.
Thank you.
You absolutely earned it. Hell yeah. So,
Yeah, listing out all of my responsibilities, I was kind of like, oh, that was a lot. Okay, that was a
yeah,
mouthful.
yeah, yeah. No, you
Mhm,
definitely earned it. So,
mhm. Yes. Is that similar to what you do as the brand manager, Kiana?
Um, I'd say so, yeah. Yes. Well, feel you have a more written based role with the blogs and the news blogs, like checking those, as well as the engagement packages. While I feel like I'm more visual based, so how can we take those blogs and put it into something nice for like picture wise for because we have amazing content on the In the News blog. Check it out. Pop up somewhere. But I'll take this and then maybe apply it visually so people can see it like, oh yeah, that looks interesting, and then maybe they'll go ahead and read it. But I'd say, yeah, video content as well. So it's interesting to hear your story and how you started in a way. It's like this tiny seed, and then with each growing responsibility, you become a nice flourishing plant, you know. So
Mhm.
it's cool to see how your skills have grown, even just listening to you and seeing how you work now. It's like I didn't know that you started as an intern. I kind of felt like you were already like in the position for like a long time, you know? So
No, I started as a marketer, but doing like
oh,
leads and everything in our CRM. Everyone was like, "Oh, well, you're really good at attention to detail. Could you redo our documents?" And so then I made that switch as well in like the internship. hmm Yeah, it's all
wow.
about fitting. hmm
I think the only non-intern people, me, Tad, who is administrative VP, and Usid, our director of technology. But everybody else started as an intern. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, they lovingly sink their teeth into you, and you stay.
That's a good way to put it.
Mhm.
Teeth versus claws. Okay, fine. Either one.
Their claws. Mhm.
December. You for this year?
Yes.
Oh wait,
Yes.
already?
Yes.